How much more challenging is it to build in a place where earthquakes are an issue, like San Francisco or Los Angeles versus not?
Total game changer.
And that's because of the
Yep.
the lateral forces, right, that happen with an earthquake.
Well, and not only that, because everywhere else in the world you still have wind on a taller building. You still have
Mm-hmm.
significant wind design, but with the wind design, we take the wind pressures that we actually think are going to be imparted on this building, and we design for those. With seismic, depending on the system, we might take the earthquake forces that we think are going to happen on the building and divide them by eight,
Divide them by 8?
and then design the building because it's the crumple zones. We're going to damage the building,
Mm-hmm.
but we're going to damage it in such a way that the occupants are safe.
Right.
So, a steel moment frame building is a building where we rigidly connect the beams and the columns so that when you push on the building, they're rigidly connected. There's still some flexibility, but it's not like
Mm-hmm.
where they're pinned and you can just push it right over, right? It's like, you got to bend the steel and all that. Well, in the 1994 Northridge earthquake, the design and construction practices of steel moment frame construction had gone from tests on little W8 moment frame connections over at UC Berkeley
Mm-hmm.
to W14 by 750 columns and W36 by 450 beams. Massive. And what they found is very, very intricate, and this is back to that quote that I gave, because of a very intricate detail in the way that those welds were placed, particularly on the bottom flange, that there was this inherent crack. It's the way they did it. And that crack propagated up into the column. And it was really shocking the way that these things failed. Fortunately, the shear tab, nothing actually collapsed,
Mm-hmm.
but they had cracks going through these columns that were so far that it was like, this was close, and that wasn't that big of an earthquake. And again, in 1994, if you look at the LA basin, I got to turn around and look at it with you. If you look at the LA basin, Northridge is here, and the energy went up into the San Gabriel Mountains. If you look at the ground shaking intensity maps from the Northridge earthquake, you'll see the San Gabriel Mountains are like blood red,
Mm-hmm.
and yet Northridge and the LA area is like orange and yellow. And still, we had this kind of damage to moment frame buildings because the research hadn't really kept up with the practice.